Let's get right to the question. It says we need to think about how the author of text 2 would most likely regard the perspective of bluegrass purists as described in text 1. Sometimes the specific thing we need to agree with or disagree with or whatever is going to matter, but a lot of times what the bluegrass purists are saying is purely just what text 1 is saying. So these, even when they sound complicated, these questions for the cross-text connections are usually pretty straightforward. So let's just go right to text 2 first and see what that person thinks. Then we can maybe, figure out what they might respond with if they were reading text 1. So I like to do it in reverse. Bluegrass isn't simply an extension of folk traditions into the era of recorded music, so that makes it sound like the other person's going to say it was. In reality, Bill Monroe created the bluegrass sound in the 1940s by combining Southern folk music with commercial genres that had arisen only a few decades before, such as jazz and the blues. Since bluegrass has always been a mixed genre, contemporary bluegrass musicians should not be forbidden from incorporating into it influences from rock and other mainstream genres. So basically, I have a feeling that this is the first passage is going to say they should be forbidden from doing this. It's an extension of folk. So I don't know. Let's see how right I am. Text 1. For decades, bluegrass musicians have debated whether their genre should exclude influences from mainstream genres such as rock. Many insist that bluegrass is defined by its adherence to the folk music of the U.S. South, out of which bluegrass emerged. Such purists, as they are known, regard the recordings of Bill Monroe, which established the bluegrass sound in the 1940s, as a standard against which the genre should be measured. So the purists are saying it's got to be this certain way. Text 2 is saying no, it doesn't have to be. So let's try something simple here. Let's just try a really dumb summary. Let's just say that how would text 2 regard this perspective? He would disagree with it. Okay. Let's just see how that does with the choices. A, he would say it was inconsistent since bluegrass purists themselves enjoy other musical genres, so at least that's negative. B is unrealistic since bluegrass purists have no way of enforcing their musical preferences. Okay, so this isn't going to work, I can already tell. C is short-sighted because bluegrass could enlarge its audience by including influences from mainstream genres, and as illogical. So yeah, they all are negative. So I was going to just see if that worked. It didn't work, but it didn't cost me much to try. So the point is, inconsistent, unrealistic, short-sighted, illogical. Those words probably don't matter as much anymore because they're all kind of hitting the idea of disagreement. And so a lot of you are going to pick apart those words and try to be like, well, is it more that it's inconsistent or more that it's unrealistic or more that it's illogical or short-sighted? Like, honestly, at this point, it's not about that. It's about the other stuff. So even though this kind of very simple filter of trying to think about the connotation didn't really work, it still kind of tells me that aspect of it can kind of be pushed aside. And those opening words probably don't matter as much as the more specific things that they say in the choices. So it lets me focus on the right kind of details, basically. Let's look at A again. So it's inconsistent since bluegrass purists themselves enjoy other musical genres. Do they enjoy other genres? I don't care. I don't know. It's about bluegrass. So I don't know. He's not saying... Text 2 is not talking about other genres, and he's not calling out the purists specifically for like being hypocrites or something. So, no. B, as unrealistic since bluegrass purists have no way of enforcing their musical preferences. No. Again, who cares? He's not saying like, well, you can think what you want, but who cares because you can't tell me what to do. No, he's got a more coherent point than that. C, as short-sighted because bluegrass could enlarge its audience by including influences from mainstream genres. Well, he's not really talking about enlarging the audience. It's just about this just kind of impression of bluegrass. I don't think that's about that. Let's look at D though. Because the purists overlook crucial aspects of how the bluegrass sound first originated. So how did it originate? Turn that into a question. In reality, created the bluegrass sound in the 1940s by combining Southern folk with commercial genres that had arisen only a few decades before. So by saying that bluegrass, what are the purists saying? It's a standard, I guess. It should be adhering to folk music. He would say it's illogical because you're missing the point. It wasn't just born out of folk music. It was also born out of commercial things such as, where'd it go? Jazz and the blues, right? So I guess that's illogical. But yeah, the more important thing is the second half. Do the purists overlook this? Yeah, it seems so. I wish they used the word overlook or something like it. Yeah. Maybe even as simple a phrase as like in reality as a kind of way of saying you're missing some sort of fact. But I don't know. I don't worry so much about this. The bigger thing is that Yeah, I can kind of force that to work. It doesn't take much effort to talk about there's other ways that text 2 says it originated. Those things are missing from text 1. They're saying that it originated in different places. So yes, text 2 would respond as saying you missed the point. You missed where the thing actually originated. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't care. Right? That's not the point of the question. The point of the question is not to say which person is right. It's just to be like, okay, if text 2 were to respond to text 1, what would he say? And I think D is pretty spot on. None of the others make any sense here, but hopefully you learn something about just maybe sometimes the power of a filter, even if it doesn't work, is that maybe it allows you to focus on the right aspects of the answer choices, the ones that actually matter.